The Board of Zoning Appeals for September 13th, 2017 is now in session. I would like to introduce my board. To my left is Jim Rowe. I am Ivan Valentic. To my right is Todd Goling and Blair Hamilton. To my far right is Heather Freeman, our Township and Zoning Inspector. Under the advice of council, we ask that anyone speaking tonight must be sworn in. So if you plan on speaking, please stand up. If there's just a chance you might have something to say, I just ask you to please stand up right now and just get sworn in. Thank you, everybody. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help me God. If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you. Please be seated. This evening, when presenting your case or commenting, please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, okay? And again, just everyone please come up to the microphone, no one talk out loud. Give everyone their chance to present. Heather, were the legal notices published in a timely manner?
Yes, they were.
Okay. Tonight we have two conditional use permits. A 3-vote majority is required to either approve or deny the appeal. If a request is denied, you have the right to file an appeal. If that's the case, Heather can help you. Okay. This evening we are missing a board member, so a 3-vote majority would be required from the 4 members here. So the first conditional use permit is number 2017-5, Mr. Andy Kalia, RLA of Fannie Howie Associates, is requesting a conditional use permit for an elementary school in accordance with section 13.05 and 13.10 for the Riverside Local School District Board of Education for the property located at 12428 Concord Hamden Road and being permanent parcel number 08-A-000-000-026-0. Please come up to the podium. Name and address, please, for the record.
It's Andy Sila at 4930 Bradenton Avenue.
Okay, Mr. Sila, really quick, since we don't have 5 members of the board up here, you have the right to postpone your conditional use permit to next month, or you can decide if you want to move forward with the 4 members here still requiring, the 3-vote majority. How would you like to
move
proceed?
forward.
Move forward? Okay, thank you. Go ahead and present your
Okay.
conditional
Should I
use
present the site plan to you or to the room?
permit. To the board up here,
Okay.
please.
Okay. I want to start by just introducing myself, Andy Sila, landscape architect for Fanning Howie, the architecture firm working with Riverside Local School District on the 2 new elementary schools. And this specific site, what we have is a 15-acre site with a roughly 73,000 square foot school, and it will be located in an R4 residential district. We're applying for a conditional use permit for a school to be located there, and it is a permitted use per section 1310. And just a quick run through of the site. The building, we have it centrally located on the site. It's within the building setback line of 50 feet from the right-of-way and then all the surrounding property lines. We have 2 entry points for separate circulation for buses and cars, one to the north, one to the south. There's around 800 lineal feet of frontage along Concord Hamden Road. 127 parking spaces that are split between the north and south end of the site. And we've worked that out with zoning to get to that number. Let's see. We've had a traffic impact study conducted on the site. We've been working with ODOT, the EPA, any authority having jurisdiction. We'll have some upcoming meetings with the fire department. At this stage of the project, we're at schematic design, and with these projects, there's 3 phases: schematic design, design development, and construction documents. So we're relatively early in the planning process. We're calling this a conceptual site plan because we're still making small changes here and there to the site layout. Let's see. And then stormwater-wise, we have it noted on the plan. We have some dry detention basins. We'll be handling the stormwater on the site and releasing it at the same rate it was released before development, and that goes through the EPA, of course, and Lake County stormwater. And lastly, we just want to say that let's see, the use of the site as an elementary school is consistent with general standards and is a permitted conditional use in an R4 district. And at that, I would like to bring Laura Coons up to talk about the sewage treatment portion of the project. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can get. I just put this down while you're presenting. My name is Laura Kramer Coons, and I serve as an environmental consultant. I am an LLC, and I am working for the Riverside School District.
And you've been sworn in this evening?
Yes, when we
Thank
stood
you.
up. Go ahead. And basically, the part of the project that I'm working on has to do with wastewater treatment. And basically, for whether it's a commercial building or a school or an office building or a house, you either have a choice between sanitary sewers or an on-site sewage treatment system. So basically, the role that I helped to play here was to determine the feasibility of sanitary sewers, to see if that was possible, and if not, to submit a site evaluation request to the Ohio EPA to determine whether an on-site sewage treatment system would be feasible. Had several meetings, correspondence, phone conversations with Randy Roethlisberger. He's the Lake County sanitary engineer, regarding sanitary service for the school on Concord-Hamden Road. The Lake County Department of Utilities regulations require that sanitary sewer service must follow the most current general master sanitary plan. The most current plan for where this property is located would require the construction of a pump station on Concord-Hamden near Alexander Road, installation of a sanitary sewer on Concord-Hamden Road with significant local sanitary sewer construction in order to service the elementary school at its current location. Based on all of those factors, it was determined that sanitary service is not available to that property at this point in time. So the next step was, what do we do with a sewage treatment system? So the process in order to meet Ohio EPA permit to install guidelines is you first have to have a soil evaluation. That was conducted by Neo Soils on January 7th. I was also present during the soil evaluation, and that was performed by a certified soil professional. Then at that point, the soil report, topography, and information on the applications was submitted to Ohio EPA. I prepared those and submitted those to Ohio EPA. The next step after that is for Ohio EPA to come out to the site and do a site review. And present during the site review, I was present, Ohio EPA Jennifer Benich, and Lake County General Health District was Dan Sinclair. After Ohio EPA did their evaluation, both at the site and then reviewing the documents that were submitted to them, they determined that the soils on site were acceptable for an on-site sewage treatment system. And when I say on-site, the system is made to treat the sewage on site and dissipate it into the soil, not discharge it into the waters of the state. We also did a water use review of the current schools in the district and of some new LEED schools. And LEED is it's an internationally recognized certification program for green building, and it's leadership in energy and engineering design. And so when you build those kinds of schools, obviously you have low use fixtures and those kinds of things. So we looked at some existing schools that are built within the last couple of years to see what kind of actual numbers, water use they had. And we also utilized the data that we had from the existing elementary schools that are in the district. And after submitting all that information to Ohio EPA, they authorized a design flow of 8 gallons per person per day in the school. Okay. So the next step from there is basically to determine what the design of the system is going to be, and that has been a cooperative between myself and Hess Engineering. They are doing the engineering design, and I'm working very closely with them. And in order to come up with a proper design, there are several sets of regulations and guidance documents that you must follow with Ohio EPA. There's the Ohio Administrative Code 374542, that's an Ohio EPA regulation. There's a design standards guidance document for, they call the Green Book, for systems under 100,000 gallons per sewage per day. And then there's an interim sewage treatment guidance document for an on-site system that doesn't discharge into a stream or a water course. And then there is a guidance document for drip distribution systems. So basically at this point, the conceptual design for the system is pre-treatment with drip distribution mounds, not unlike several of the systems that are out in Concord, just on a smaller scale for lots of houses that are out there. And basically what will happen is once the plans are drafted, all of this will be submitted in a submission to Ohio EPA, which is called a PTI submission, permit to install. They review all of the documents and then they determine whether or not the documents meet all the criteria and that the system meets the criteria. Basically for this particular, well, for both of the elementary schools, we are going with primary treatment that is a little bit different than what folks are used to. We know that there is concern about potential noise and odors from a traditional package treatment plant, which is an aerobic treatment unit. This particular treatment system will be an aerobic system, but it will be an easy treat recirculating system with synthetic filter pods and recirculation pump tanks, septic tanks. There will be an oil and grease separator that's required for all commercial buildings. And then basically the treatment in these units are fixed film. Bacteria grows on the synthetic material and that breaks down and that reduces your BOD, I got a typo there, suspended solids and your fecal bacteria. It's much quieter than a typical aeration system because the only time it's running is when the recirculation pump kicks on to dose the filters. It is not something that runs 24/7, which is typical of a normal aeration treatment unit. It is also in pods and they have covers on them, so we don't anticipate that there's going to be odors. When the system's running well, there's not odors anyway, but it is the nature of how it's constructed. It does help keep down any potential for odors. The soil absorption part of the system. After it goes through that treatment, it's going to go out into drip distribution on sand mounds. There are several sand mounds that will be on the property. They'll be low profile. Drip distribution works in the soils that we have in Lake County because it is time microdosing. It puts out water on a time cycle in very small doses. That gives you very good treatment and it helps you disperse water into some of the more challenging soils that we have. There also are replacement areas that are adjacent to all of these mounds on the plans. That's a requirement by Ohio EPA so that in the future, should you have a problem with one of the mounds, you have an area that you can put in a replacement mound. There will be an interceptor drain on the high side of the entire sewage system to get any kind of sheet flow and divert it away from the system because you only want to treat sewage. You don't want to treat rainwater. And the system will be installed by registered Lake County installers that have experience in drip distribution. Wouldn't want it any other way. These are people who've been working on drip since drip came to Lake County. just, this is a little bit technical, but not too, just to show you where there are two 5,000-gallon septic tanks. There is a 5,000-gallon flow equalization tank, and you have two recirculating tanks, 3,000 gallons each. And basically then they dose, the two little green squares, those are the treatment pods. That's where your synthetic filters are. So once it goes through that part of the system, if you look at the numbers here, the incoming water, BOD and suspended solids, 250, 180, and it reduces it down to 1012. That is made for discharging into the waters of the state, but we're not doing that. We're discharging into the soil. That's just an illustration of what those pods look like. There will be soil that will come up to on the sides, but you can see the tops, the covers on the tops. And then this is, well, it's a little different than the drawing probably that Andy has here, but this just gives you a conceptual on where the sewage system is. The pretreatment would be up in the corner there on the top in the green square, and then your drip mounds would be going down the hillside there.
Is this more up to date than the drawing that we have here?
Well, this is just on this was focused on the sewage, so I can't really speak to, it's probably older than the drawing that
the sewage,
Andy has.
I guess the pretreatment, I think, when I look at the two, I think they're in different locations. That's why I asked.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
Unless I'm
and
reading
then that could change again up on the top there. That'll just be a function of where we want the piping to come out, and where is it going to hug this side or be a little more central. That really, it'll be up on that, in that area up there, because we want to stay on topography with the drip mounds. Do you have any questions?
I have a quick question. Can you just go back to why the storms or the sanitary sewer doesn't work? I mean, you talked about the plan that's in place and the pump station and the extension that would be needed, but a little bit more detail on why that option was eliminated very quickly. Well,
you can correct me if I'm wrong, Randy, but basically you're talking about a pump station, if my memory serves, is over $1 million. And then you're talking about major sewer infrastructure. You know, those of you that are, you know, from Concord, you know about the bedrock we have, especially in some of those areas there. So you've got the potential for bedrock coming down Concord-Hamden. So you're talking about an expensive install of a major sanitary sewer. You're talking millions of dollars here. And Ohio EPA, their first thing that they do when they do their site review is they determine whether or not there's a way for the school to get into the sanitary sewer. And they determined that it wasn't feasible because of the huge amount of infrastructure that would have to be constructed and the huge costs for only one end user along that path. I don't remember how many miles or feet it is, but I know that it's well over 3,000.
okay. Todd, you had a question?
Good.
Anything else?
Hold on, I do have maybe another question then for you. So the primary pre-treatment that the covered thing that's much quieter and the pods and everything, when we're in SD phase. So what happens when we get to DD or CD phase and costs start to shake out and things need to get cut or VE'd? Will this system change to something different?
No.
Or is this the system
actually,
that
the reason this system actually it uses less energy, so it really kind of works well in the whole LEED certification that I know that the schools would be looking to get in terms of building green. So that system uses less energy. It gives you better treatment than some of the conventional ATUs out there. It's quieter. It's cleaner. I don't see that changing. That's what we have gotten an acceptance from Ohio EPA on both easy treat and drip distribution mounds. They have already, in essence, okayed the use of that particular treatment train.
Okay.
So I don't see that changing.
Okay.
Anything else?
As far as the sound goes, I'm normally down in Lamouth, and I'm familiar with the,
I'm sure you, yes. It is not at all like the package plant at Lamouth. This system is not going to be running all the time. What makes noise at a traditional aerobic plant is the aerator motor.
right.
This is a fixed film type of treatment, not an aerobic mixed liquor type of treatment. So it's a whole different type of aerobic treatment, and so the only time there's really noise is when that recirculation pump kicks on and doses those filters.
But do you know if, like, the decibel level at all? What, if, when it's running, how loud is it?
Quite frankly, you're not going to hear those pods unless you're right next to them.
Okay.
And the drip system, that's in the ground, you're not going to hear that.
So the rectangles out there, that's the mounds in the drip system, correct?
The green up there, that would be your treatment, the easy treat, the pods.
pre-treatment,
And
yeah.
then these orangey, pinkish, long skinny rectangles are your drip zones.
So
And they'll be different sizes depending on the topography.
Right, that makes sense.
That's
So
why they're not uniform.
What do they, so what can be done out there? I mean, you're gonna have moguls out there. Is there any use that the school can use that area, or should kids stay away from that area?
Unfortunately, the kids aren't going to be able to go run and play on them because the tubing is in the tops of the mounds, and you'll have some topsoil cover and grass. They won't be able to run around on them like a traditional leach field.
Is there any danger of anyone falling into the?
Into anything? No.
Okay.
You know, there would be a fence around the treatment pods, and the mounds are just little humps in the ground. It's not, there's nothing open. Anything else? Okay.
Thank you. I do have a question on the site plan, Mr. Cilio. Can you walk through, please put that back up and just walk us through where the buses come in and out versus cars and the circulation on the site?
Yeah, and we're still working on which, if the buses are going to use the north or the south loop. Currently, it's designed to handle the traffic of either. So buses can use the top. I have them shown at the north end of the site for now. But again, we're in DD, and that could easily change.
There's some residential properties around the site, and you started to allude to some landscape, and I'm sure there's some concerns to adjacent properties. You know, we're not, this isn't site plan review, but, you know, for us to determine if we want to grant the conditional use permit, what can we expect for screening along the property boundaries? You know, are we clearing the whole site? Are we, you know, saving some trees? Are we supplementing trees? Where are we putting fencing or other opportunities?
Yeah, so the landscaping that we'll be adding will just meet the minimums for the zoning. So screen the parking lots. Along Concord Hamden Road, we'll have some mounding, and again, the trees and shrubs required by zoning. You know, it's so many trees and so many shrubs per lineal foot. And then dumpster enclosure, service yard, you know, those will be screened as well. But as far as the finer details for that, that'll kind of come out in the site plan review.
Okay.
And then to speak to the trees on site currently, I mean, the majority of the trees will be downed to fit the school and the parking lots and the sewage treatment system. We'll save trees where we can, but for grading operations, we'll probably be losing most of the trees.
Are you familiar with our riparian setback ordinance here?
Yes.
Does that impact your mounds in
No.
the stream and the wetland there?
I don't believe so. Are you talking the wetland area?
Yeah,
in the
the
back?
corner.
Yeah, we'll meet the minimum setback for grading from there as well. We'll probably actually exceed that.
Okay.
So we want to stay as far back from that as possible.
Yeah, when I looked at the map, I don't believe I saw the wetland, but I wasn't sure if you had actually shown what the actual buffers are for the
Yeah,
street.
yeah, it should be a 50-foot buffer. I believe the minimum's 25,
Okay.
but we'll be at least 25, probably closer to 50 off of that. And with the sewage treatment system, we won't be doing any grading on that back portion of the site. The grades have to stay as is. So other than the mounding for the system itself, the trees will be down, but there will be no grading operations on that whole back half of the site.
Have you guys, have you guys done this kind of system for a school in the past?
No,
No.
not the,
Yeah.
there are several schools in northeastern Ohio that have
yeah, the Fanning Howey,
their systems.
to my knowledge, hasn't done one.
Yeah.
I know they're out there.
Okay.
Looked at some of their plans and had discussion with EPA about those systems.
Okay.
It's not new.
Anyone else have any questions
No.
from the board?
I'm good right now, thank you.
Some consideration so far. Okay, you can be
Yep.
seated.
Do you want me to move this off to the side, so it's not in the way, or do you want to
Sure,
keep
you
it up?
can move it up to the
Okay.
side for a minute. Is there anyone else that's here speaking for or against the appeal that would like to come up and say anything? This is our opportunity. For or against the appeal, if you would like to come up. Now's the-
We got some against them, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah, so
anybody who wants to speak.
Anybody that wants to come up, we'll just form a line and give everyone a chance to say their piece.
Mr. Chairman, can we hear those pros first, so we have a separation between the pro and the
Sure,
con?
that's fine.
If you would,
So-
please.
Oh, ma'am, just hold on one second. Is there anyone else for the appeal that would like to come up? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay, good evening, everybody.
Thanks,
Hi, everybody. I'm Gretchen Skoke. I live at 12550 Concord, Hamden. So we are
And you've
5
been-
lots.
And you've been sworn in? Sorry.
I have been sworn in, yes, sir.
Thank you.
We are 5 lots southeast on Concord, Hamden from the proposed site. This evening, I'm speaking on behalf of myself and my mother, Linda Skoke, who's right there. The good thing about being a senior is you get your kids to do all your dirty work for you. So she's not interested in public speaking, but my sentiments or her sentiments, we have 2 homes at 12550 Concord Hamden Road. I want to first say that I support the schools. I supported the levy. I voted for it. I think investment in schools is some of the most important things we can do in our community, okay? And I truly mean that because I'm a college professor. That's how I make my living. I have Riverside students. They put out a great product. They should have new schools. However, I'm here tonight because the school's choice of locations is inappropriate and irresponsible. Why do I think that? Those are my neighbors. Why do I think that? So, you know, one of my master's degrees is in economic development. So I spent 20 years before I started teaching in economic development. So I was actually staff member to the Painesville City BZA and the Planning Commission for a number of years. So how I prepared my argument is based on your criteria within your CUP guidelines, okay? So my arguments are to 5 specific criteria, okay? So if I could begin. One of their criteria is will be designed, constructed, operated, and maintained so as to be harmonious and appropriate in appearance with the existing or intended character of the general vicinity, and that such will not change the essential character of the neighborhood. So if I could also quickly read from your code, directly from the Concord Code, according to section 15.01, the purpose of the R4 residential district where we live is to maintain the lower density character of Concord. And I quote, a predominance of rural, residential, and agricultural character with significant areas of woodland, floodplain, and steep slopes, okay? So the character of our neighborhood is rural. It says it in the code. Any of us would agree that it's a rural area. Many of us moved here because we want to escape the lights, the traffic, the noise, okay? A school is a commercial use. It is a commercial use. It is a business. Oh yeah, we're in the business of education, but it's a business. People work there. It brings lights, it brings delivery trucks, it brings traffic, noise, okay, again to this rural area. I shared the design with a very reputable engineering and design company in Lake County, and I was told that the most striking point about this design is it's an urban design. So I asked the gentleman, I said, well, what does this mean, an urban design? And he said, well, clear cutting of trees. Okay, maybe they'll save 2 or 3. Clear cutting of trees. No preservation. An incredible amount of impervious surfaces. Approximately 2/3 of that 15 acres is going to be an impervious surface between streets, parking, the rooftops, etc. 74,000 square feet of building, 2 stories, minimal landscaping, as the gentleman just stated. They're doing the minimum. Okay, we're not getting anything beyond that. We're getting the minimum. So basically, in conclusion for that criteria, I think it fundamentally changes the essential character of this neighborhood, given the urban design, okay, and the basic fact that a school is a commercial use. Number 2 criteria, will not be disturbing to neighborhood uses. So I'm pulling to the traffic study on this here. If we develop this as homes, and I'm being very liberal here, you could maybe get 12 to 15 homes on that site. Okay, and now I'm not a traffic expert, but maybe you'd have, 10 trips, 12 trips per home. So you're talking 100 to 150 trips if we were to develop this as housing. Their study has 618 to 812 traffic trips a day, car trips a day. That is huge. That is huge. We already have issues where we are, and we're rural. What is this going to mean, to the traffic in our area? And as a side note, I felt their application was a bit confusing as a reader, and I want to point out this study is not yet complete. They state that there's not a need for a turning lane. There aren't needs for extra, lights, all of that. That has not been approved by ODOT. I received confirmation yesterday from Myron Bakush, who runs the district in Northeast Ohio. ODOT has not signed off on this. It's simply in draft form. Okay, nothing has been determined from ODOT. They need, the processes, they need to confirm that. In addition, it's not disturbing neighboring uses. Noise, oh my goodness. I love children. I have 2 of them at home. They're wonderful, but they're loud. Just imagine up to 625, in addition to cars and deliveries, okay, and potential septic noise. The plans for the sewer, I'd like to discuss that under another criteria. Night lighting, okay, 365 days a year. They want to protect their property. They don't want people to deface it. They will be lighting 365 days a year. Now it states in the application, minimize light glare. Forgive me folks, but that's an oxymoron. Lighting is a pollution. Okay, they will be lighting 15 acres to protect their property. They should do that. They should try to protect their property. But the poor folks right next door, Again, on this disturbing and neighboring uses, schools are a public place to congregate. Unlike a business, okay, so a business would, just the people working there, their deliveries, etc. A school is a public place to congregate. It brings events. It brings people coming to the playground. Okay, these belong in locations that are closer to commercially zoned. Look at Auburn Career Center. Look at St. Gabriel's School that we have here. Those are closer, they're in commercial areas where it's appropriate to have these public places to congregate. Also, we're very concerned about stormwater in our area. We've had stormwater issues for years. What I heard tonight is not very conclusive as to how they're doing anything with stormwater. We have a number of issues where we live with regards to that, so I'm concerned about that. The 3rd criteria, it says you will be served adequately by essential public facilities. Okay, so you heard they're not tapping into sewer. My mother owns a freshwater spring, 5 lots from here where we receive our water. I lose so much sleep at night wondering about contamination of my water. Now they say, hey, it's this, a great system, this will work. Mechanics fail. Yes. Anybody who tells you mechanics don't fail is lying to you.
Excuse me. Please, if the audience could just remain quiet as every individual comes up and talks so they can give their message to the board. I'd appreciate that.
So we're very concerned about that. So as a result, we wrote a letter, my mother wrote a letter to the Ohio EPA, as you heard, which regulates this, okay? We received a scary response. But firstly, I'll also say that I called the health department about this. I spoke with Dan Sinclair. He told me that the health department receives numerous complaints from neighborhoods that are new on-site sewage treatment systems. okay, and that it's a significant issue. Okay, even in the drip systems, they receive complaints about odors. So we expressed concerns about odors to the Ohio EPA. They told us, and I quote, okay, when properly operated, it emits a musty smell. So I don't know about any of you, but a musty smell is not a good smell. Okay, if you look up the synonyms, moldy, dank, and stale. Okay, that's what we're going to get in our neighborhood. And of course there's going to be a smell. It's the excrement from 650 people. Okay. Concord currently has 23 on-site sewage treatment systems. I received that from the Lake Health Department. Only 2 are in R1 and R4 zoning. Okay, you know the one in R1 zoning, it's a residential zoning, that's Lamouth. Okay, so we heard tonight it's not really comparable. By the way, it's a 220% increase of land over there. They have a lot more land. Okay, so potentially there's less issues. The only other commercial septic is actually close to us by the Cleveland Ski Club. And as you all know, I mean, it's just like one that they go out and pump. I mean, there's like nothing going on there. It's not repetitive mounds, okay, going on. So this is really out of the ordinary, incredibly out of the ordinary. Again, I asked the health department about this. Dan Sinclair, he's never seen anything like this, okay, this amount of mounding. Okay, he could not point to anything in Lake County. Perhaps it's, according to Ms. Coons, it's in Northeast Ohio, but we do not have anything in the amount of this nearby. The fourth criterion, I'm sorry, I wrapped this up. I'm sorry I'm being long, but I'm passionate about this. This is my neighborhood. This is my home, okay? Number 4, will not result in the destruction, loss, or damage of a natural feature. They are clear cutting this property. That is a natural feature. They're taking down all of those trees, okay, with the exception of a few. Other residential developments, when they maximize the use of their property, like where Summerwood, where these folks live, they had to conserve. They had to conserve when they developed it to the max capacity, okay? And an interesting fact, in the Ohio Schools Facility Commission, they have a design manual that these folks, I'm sure, are looking to when they're making their design, and it actually states a predominantly, and I quote, a predominantly wooded site on which the majority of trees will need to be removed is not favorable when it comes to their site location, okay? And lastly, number 5th criteria, it will not be disturbing to the existing and future use and enjoyment of property. Again, I point to the lights, 365 days a year at night, the significant traffic increase that we're gonna see. Instead, we could have homes there and have probably a 1/10 of the traffic. Noise, the commercial use, again, the fact that it's a public place of congregation, and the impervious surfaces. So for these reasons, I see that there is no argument that they can make to state that they reach the criteria that Concord set forth for a change of use, for a conditional use permit. There is no way that they meet this. Again, this is the biggest investment we have in this room are our homes. You know, millions of dollars we have put into our homes. And what will this mean to us as a neighborhood? We were here first. You know, I think the schools, they said nothing about how this is a hardship for them. There are other places they can go. They came to the site knowing they couldn't get sewer, okay? They know the challenges here. There are other sites they could have chosen where there are sewers. There are other sites, you can't tell me there are other sites, you know, in the Riverside District that they couldn't locate. I think it's appropriate and responsible that they choose another site. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions?
Gretchen,
Can you please come up?
on
to
this
the
map, do you
microphone?
live right down here?
We live at the bottom of the hill.
Live at the bottom of the hill.
Bottom of the
And we own all up to the Big Creek Valley Farm. We own all
Okay.
up to Winchell Road. That's where our screen is, Winchell Road.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions for her?
Nope.
Good? Good? Anyone else speaking against the appeal that'd like to come up?
Yeah, my name is Richard Bird. My girlfriend and I live at 12396 Summerwood Drive. So,
And you've been sworn in, sir?
yes, sir.
Go ahead.
We believe that this is going to have a negative impact on us and the surrounding neighbors. And I would like to ask that you don't approve this until there's more definition here. It just, when we purchased our house on Summerwood about 3 years ago, I very anally checked out all the zoning that was around us, and I talked to like a Bruce, I think he was a former employee in the zoning, and I made sure that, you know, where we were going to live, you know, our house was not going to change. You know, we love like the quiet and serenity of the backyard. We sit in our backyard at night and there's no lights. The house blocks the street lights from the street. We can just hear the wind, you know, blowing through the trees, and you know, this is something we enjoy. In their conditional use permit, you know, they're saying it does not present a hazard or disruptive to neighbors, and I can't. I don't see that, because our house is located right here by this ball field, so it's like right in this corner here. And I walked out into this wooded area where this is going to be, and every single tree, like as far as I ventured to go, right across this property line is all marked with like blue X's for removal. And this line right here, this ball field, it goes over into the 50-foot setback, and it's right there. There's a very small green zone or buffer zone right there, but 25, 30 feet, it's not much. There may be one major tree there. So if you clear cut all of this area right here, we're going to see the ball field, we're going to hear the ball field, we're going to see the road where the buses come in. I see you know, no landscaping, I see no protection, I see basically I don't see anything in this plan that is going to protect us against noise, smell, or sound. I was under the impression that the Concord Township zoning would protect us against things like this, and make sure that, you know, like Heather said, I mean, this is, I'm just literally sick to my stomach. We're literally ill over the prospect of having a school behind us, because it seems just like we're not being considered at all, or our opinion. And this isn't directly related, but I wanted to mention like the process that like I personally went through, like leading up to this meeting. You know, we did learn that the school, after the levy, had purchased this 10-acre lot, you know, right here. And there was a sign out on 608, you know, saying the school was going to go in here. So I did know about that, and as soon as I learned of that, I did, you know, some research, and I discovered that Little Mountain owned the property right here, and I talked to them.
Can you flip that this way?
Sure, I'm sorry. I learned that Little Mountain owned this property here. It was like approximately 5 acres. And being a very concerned citizen in what was going to happen, I contacted Little Mountain, and they were planning to put 4 residential homes in here. And I was like, okay, not my dream, but in my opinion, it was a better option than the school, you know, being right behind my house. So I saw that there was signage, you know, on 608 here for the Little Mountain homes. I also contacted Heather, and I talked to her about, you know, what was going on with this and the school and all that. And I called Riverside Schools. I told them that I was very concerned that the school was going even 5 acres away from me at that point. And then over Labor Day weekend, we went for a ride, and I turned down here, and I noticed that the Little Mountain signs were gone. And I was like, wow, I wonder what's going on here. I have no idea what's going on. So that next Monday, I start calling people, and I find out that this 5 acres was sold to the school district, and they're planning on building a school here. This is just me accidentally stumbling across it. I wasn't notified that, you know, any of this was going in. I wasn't included in any way, shape, or form about anything that was going on in my own backyard. And I started talking to some of my neighbors about it, and same. I would say that every single neighbor that I have, that I talk to in the Summerwood area, was unaware of this. I mean, obviously they are now because they're here at the meeting. But I just think we can do a better job as a community in informing, you know, neighbors that are directly affected by this. I mean, 25 feet, technically that's not adjacent, but man, we are going to be extremely affected by this. And I think this is going to destroy our lives. So,
Hey, Richard, where do you live on here? Can you show me?
sure.
The real little bit.
Right here.
So that's your house pretty much right there?
Yeah.
Like third or fourth in, something like that?
Yeah, there's a new house here, so this is mine right here.
Okay, gotcha, thank you.
Thank you for listening to me.
No, and to be clear, tonight's meeting is only for the conditional use permit, so, they're early in the stage, and if this goes forward, they need to come back for site plan approval and reviews, and that's where, we'll see what the landscaping is gonna come in, buffering, what's gonna get cleared, what's gonna, be kept on site as well.
You can understand my extreme concern.
Oh, yes.
I have been completely ignored, and I would say my neighbors are as well, from anything at all regarding this. If I wasn't observant that day, myself and our neighbors would have all missed this meeting. And I think it's critical on how dramatically it's going to affect our lives. So that was the point I want to make. And also that if I wasn't considered at all up to this point, I mean, this is pretty major in my world. This is pretty major going into my backyard.
Sure.
So what guarantee do I have that I will have any say, or any attention will be paid to any of my concerns or needs? So thank you very much for hearing.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Another clap.
Okay, sure.
Hi.
Let's just hold the claps for the rest of the meeting. Let's get through we got a long evening ahead of us, and want to give everyone a chance here.
All right, Rich Ditto. I live on Winchell, 12421, and I have been sworn in.
Thank you.
And I just want to add on, it's hard to beat what Gretchen already said, but my real concern is with this septic system. I don't know who decided not to hook into the sewers, but I believe they're right. I don't know if that study was done before they purchased the extra 5 acres, but that 5 acres is real close to where the sewers are on Summerwood. So I don't know what the impact if it's financial, but I wouldn't think that they'd be too concerned about that since they paid ungodly amount for the land already. So what's another $1 million of our tax money? So I don't know what that is, but to put 29, is it? Yeah, 29 mounds on 3.5 acres in a treatment plant in our neighborhood. I mean, how would you like to live next to that, If that school was there and we bought our land and built our houses, I wouldn't even be here, But like a lot of people are saying, we had no idea this was gonna happen. And if you look at this back corner, this is a creek. This is a creek that runs here. And this is if you saw the topo map, I've been on this land, and this land all flows back to this creek. So mounds, dispersing all that water every day, and you can't tell me that those mounds are going to hold in all that water and not get in the creek. There's a pond back here, and I mean, that's the biggest thing I have against it. Clear cutting all those trees and putting a fence up is going to look like a penitentiary. We have a penitentiary by us, Not to mention everything that Gretchen said with the lights and everything. So I'm all for kids having a brand new school. I love that, I'm all for that. I can't believe this site was picked for it compared to where, I don't know who does that or what their experience was or, what knowledge they have to pick this land. But I just want to go on record that, I'm against it.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Who's next?
Hi, my name's Eric Dean. I live at 12401 Summerwood Drive. I have been sworn in. You know, I thought Heather tonight made some very valid points, and I just want to speak on behalf of the roughly 6 years I've lived in the Summerwood neighborhood. The speed of expansion and growth in America that's you know, stretching into rural areas. It's crazy how fast it's going. And a lot of us, as was stated before, moved to this area for a very specific reason. It's quiet, it's rural, there's nature, there's woods, there's the national park, or the state park there. And to bring in this type of a structure is going to completely negate all of that. We're running out of places to go. We can't keep moving farther and farther away as expansion happens. We need to start protecting certain areas and keeping the character of that area alive. And I believe that's important to everyone in this room. I know a ton of my direct neighbors are standing right behind me. If you live in Summerwood, you understand the character of that neighborhood. You understand the quiet, the fact that we can walk across the street and talk to our neighbors and it's serene. The ton of kids that live in this neighborhood. I have a son that's about to be 11. There are only 2 cars at this point that I know on a consistent basis speed through our neighborhood. I feel safe there. We address those as neighbors when people speed through our neighborhood. We are talking about a significant increase in traffic flow. I don't care what they have stated up to this point. I would love to see that impact study, because I know that living 3 houses from Concord-Hamden Road, I have trouble getting out on Concord-Hamden Road on a normal basis, let alone when the school is there. I will also say that that hill that they're trying to put that school on is extremely dangerous. We can barely see over the hill as we're coming out on Concord-Hamden Road. And you're wanting to take kids in and out of that location. I think it's extremely irresponsible. I might be a little bit out of place here, but personally, as a nature lover and an animal lover, this is going to be just more reason why we're pushing the nature away. One of the reasons that I personally live there. I like the fact that I can see foxes running through my backyard, that there's deer in the area. We're adding more people, more noise, more lights. That all starts to go away. Safety. We have to address it. I have some personal friends in the neighborhood, and one of them actually works on child endangerment issues. However, schools will bring a desire for individuals we don't want around. It's just natural. It happens. And so I'm worried about that as having a young child in the neighborhood. I live across the street, so I wouldn't be directly affected like some of my neighbors. But I love my neighbors. I love the people living around me. I don't want to see them move away because of the encroachment on their life. And financially, this will have a significant impact on home values. Whatever, Heather mentioned it, mechanical breakdowns will happen. Period, end of story. That odor will be in the area. And as people come through and as realtors start to get to know the area, that will be stated. So I personally am very much against this measure, and as stated several times, again from several individuals, there are plenty of locations. I understand a lot of people want to be in Concord. That's why we're here. We don't want that taken away from us. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to come up?
My name is Mike Barber. I live at 12386 Summerwood Drive. I'm on the third base side, almost by the home plate here.
You've been sworn in, sir?
I have. We've lived here since 2010. Love the neighborhood, love the neighbors. We lived in East Lake, and behind our house, about that far away, was a city pool. That's why we don't live in East Lake anymore. It was just very intrusive. We work shifts, hard to sleep. Just a lot of, thinking of it, the lighting. We can see stars right now. We can never see stars. So, and I can show you on the map later where we live, but we would be right here. But I'm sure that's going to be lit. I just ask the members of the board, don't let Concord become another Eastlake. Don't drive people away because of the sewer smell and the lights. And we came here for a reason. We have one shot at a dream house. It's right here, right there. And I don't want to lose it, but it is becoming more and more inevitable that I'm not going to live with that. It's not going to happen. A sewer plant in the backyard. I did my homework before we moved here. My wife and I looked into everything. We talked to Mr. Bullard, I believe his name was. And it's all residential. It's all farmland. You'll be good. Enjoy. Welcome to the neighborhood. We never expected this. And I ask you not to let it happen. That's all I got. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening.
Do you live next to Mr. Bird?
I'll show you.
Yeah, just my own reference. Right here.
Yep, right there.
Gotcha. Thank
They
you.
cleared out too much. That's an old picture.
Is there anyone else that'd like to come up and speak? Now's your chance.
Bob Laskowski. I live at 12416 Summerwood, which is second house from the end, or second house closest to Concord Hamden Road.
You've been sworn in, sir?
I have been sworn in. And yeah, I too have a lot of concerns about the school here. And you know, number one is there wasn't a lot of transparency, you know, when we had this Riverside levy. No one knew your backyard would be a parking lot or a roadway. We saw the original 10-acre land they bought. We saw the sign. It was pretty far down the road. You know, we didn't think much of it. But that's all changed, and changed really, really recent. You know, when they acquired these 5 acres. And I just don't see the transparency there with letting the residents know, hey, this is really what we need. This is really how close we're going to get to you, you know, when we build this. The other thing is, being so close to Concord Hamden Road, I'm a night shift worker, so I work during the day. I have to have earplugs in now so I can sleep. Because everyone knows, a few people have said, the road traffic there now, truck traffic, it's heavy and it's loud. And my house is soundproofed. I told the builder, I want the walls soundproofed. He said, they're going to be soundproof. Yeah, the windows, you know, the noise level is high. So when you put this school in, and you put this roadway in, and you put this bus traffic in, all the additional traffic, what is it going to be like to live here? I mean, how loud is it going to get? Now, we've heard no plan from Andy here on what he's going to do with sound problems, lighting. I mean, they've said nothing. They've said nothing. I understand this is a conditional use meeting, and I mean, we're voicing our concerns, and when you look at the, you know, the zoning laws, you know, we're seeing, well, is this going to hurt the eco space? Is this going to hurt your, you know, is this going to be bothersome to the neighborhood? Yes, it is. So how can we give a conditional use permit to them when you've heard all the concerns, or at least a lot of them? How can we do this until we see a reasonable plan, something that's in this wastewater treatment plant? Who would want to live behind a wastewater treatment plant? Nobody. Who's going to build another house over here? I mean, our property value is going to go down, and I mean, I don't see how it would get any better. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
My name's Chris Sustar. I live at, or I will be living, I'm building 12436 Concord Hamden Road, right next door.
When you say right next door, to the south?
Yep.
Okay. You've been sworn in, sir?
Yes, I have. I'm not going to go into everything else because I agree with Gretchen and everything else. So then I'll just stick to
If there's not anything new to add, I'd appreciate
my side of it.
Sure.
When I first decided to build there, it was a dream. I'm going to build my retirement house. I've lived in Concord. I'm going to die in Concord. Now, you guys might as well take that sewage plant and put it right on top of my house. I hate going out there, knowing this is being put in. It's my life. I didn't think this could be taken away from me. My choice to live next to a school has been taken away from me if this goes through. It just totally pisses me off. I'm putting my life savings into this house. It's going to be my retirement home. The only thing I can think of is I'm out back having a cookout and I'm going to be smelling the septic. Who am I going to call and complain? I know you guys, I won't be able to call you guys. Who am I going to call? I moved out here for the serenity, the darkness, everything else. Now I'm going to have school lights shining in my house all the time. This isn't right. At all. That's all I got.
Thank you, Chris. Anybody else that would like to come up and speak against the appeal or the conditional use permit?
I live at 12450 Concord Hamden Road. It's about 200 feet from the school. We moved here from out of state. I spent much time choosing a piece of land. We chose it because it was wooded, it was quiet, beautiful at night, darkness. We love the wildlife, so you know, birds and deer and all the other animals. We just really enjoyed watching those. I guess I also feel very sick to my stomach thinking that they will take down all the trees. The wildlife will be gone. The lights, the noise. I don't even want to live in my house anymore. I've only been there 2 years and I don't even want to be there. I can't even imagine how the composition of the whole neighborhood would be changed. So I ask that you please do not approve this. Leave the neighborhood like it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could the microphone be placed so we can hear? I didn't hear things she said.
Sure. We'll move it forward and we'll ask people to
I
speak.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the microphone is actually for the television. It's not
So
like
it
an
doesn't
audio
amplify.
bar.
It doesn't amplify.
Okay. Is there anyone else here speaking against this appeal? Please come on up.
My name is Dennis Stevens. I live on the corner of Winchell on 608, 12445 Winchell. I'd like more information about the stormwater drainage. I know there's some retention ponds out front. Is that water ultimately going to go down the ditch on Concord Hamden Road? Because I live on the corner, I have all the stormwater coming down Winchell Road. I have all the stormwater coming down Concord Hamden, and it's all converging at the intersection. It's scouring out under the road. The road is collapsing. Ditches that used to have high embankments on each side are now at a 45-degree angle. There's a lot of soil erosion, and this is just from the normal rains. I'm concerned that this school, with 14 acres of concrete and asphalt, is going to funnel a lot of water down Concord Hamden Road and make it even worse.
Part of their approval will be, one of the conditions will be that they work with the county engineer and they get approval from the county engineer for their stormwater management, and it gets reviewed by the county engineer, correct, Heather?
Okay, well, I'm not the engineer, but I'm here to represent myself.
Sure.
And I'm letting you know ahead of time, I see that as a major problem, because I already have that problem. I have a lot of soil that I'm losing personally every time there's a heavy rain down on that corner, and it's gonna get worse. Unless there's a retention wall or something put there to channel that water carefully, I'm gonna keep losing soil. And all the soil along that ditch, all the way up the hill, keeps draining away also. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come up and speak? Everyone's good? Andy, you know, I'd like to give you the opportunity to come back up and maybe answer some more questions from the board, or if there's anything you want to add based on what the information you heard today, or if there's anybody from the school district that'd like to come up and say anything.
My name is Jim Kalis. I'm the superintendent of Riverside Local Schools, and I have been sworn in. This whole project has taken many years. We looked at about 25 different properties in the Concord, the southeast area of our district. We're replacing 4 schools. This bond allows us to build 2 new elementary schools and decommission Haddon, Hale, Leroy, and Madison elementaries. Leroy is one of the worst facilities we have in our district. We have to take that building down. We were hoping that we could do it sooner than later, but we are keeping it open until our elementary schools are built. We're planning on opening them up August of 2019. Despite of what you've heard today, we've had many discussions at our board meetings about this. We put information in our publications that we put out. I personally went to 25 different, around 25 different coffees in people's houses to talk about the project. Now, at that time, we were not really sure yet where that was going to be located in the Concord area, but we did discuss some of the other possible locations. There was only one that we looked at in Concord that actually had a sewer tie-in, which was just east of Girdled and Ravenna Road, but the topography there was just awful. According to our experts over here, it was not a good site to build. We would have had to put in a lot of money. Now, I'm not exactly sure what the total amount was. Mr. Roethlisberger is over there sitting. We met with them formally about 3 times to look at trying to tie in and not have a wastewater treatment plant on any of the sites that we picked. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and I believe the amount to tie in, to possibly tie in, was more around $3 million. Not $1 million, $3 million. And the bond that was passed was a $38.5 million bond to build 2 new elementary schools. We looked for some of the same reasons that we've heard here that have been expressed by the community. This is some of the reason why we want to be in Concord. We want to be able to service the kids in the area. But we looked at Capitol Parkway. Geographically speaking, it's too far. We have to service the kids in the southeastern portion of our district. And Concord is a great place, and we want to be able to have another elementary school somewhere that will serve the kids of Leroy and Concord. And we're only in the design phase, but the building isn't going to be something that's going to be ugly or embarrassing. Someone said that the most important resource are their houses, and that may be the case. It's our kids, too. And we need to be able to educate them in 21st century facilities. All of you, I'm sure, have gone in our elementary schools and you've seen what they look like. The Ohio School Facility Commission audited our buildings in 2008 and 2013. You know what they said? They said, get rid of all of your schools except Lamouth and put up a $149 million bond. After I laughed, I said, what can we really do? So we put together this plan with community members, and what we're trying to do is a 2-phase program. Well, actually 3 if you count the 3rd phase, which is to convert Lamouth into an elementary school. But that won't cost the district anything. Actually, we'll get money back through a program that we're in with the Ohio School Facility Commission. But our plan at the end basically has Lamouth still standing, but we will still have 2 new elementary schools, and possibly in the 2nd phase along the line. We're not putting anything on the ballot now. Down the line would be a 612 complex, possibly on the Riverside site. But we've been as transparent as we possibly can. I did talk to Mr. Bird a few times on the phone, very nice gentleman. We had a candid conversation. The reason why we haven't gone to the community yet is that I can't present, or ICON can't present something that we're not sure exactly what it looks like. We don't want to go to the community and say, hey, this is what we're doing, only to have some changes and have people accuse us of changing plans on them. So we're going through the process, trying to get the conditional use form, going through the process, and once we know what the site is going to look like, I'll do everything in my power with the $38.5 million is trying to shield some of the neighbors from the school. But what I'm hearing, and I understand, but what I'm hearing here is the fact that school's great, but don't put it by my neighborhood, don't put it in my house, put it somewhere else. And that's what we're looking at. And at this point, this is the site that we have picked. We picked it for a reason. We got the 14 acres, 15 acres. We looked at other options. I'm telling you, we looked at about 3 or 4 sites more formally with geotech studies and everything else. But we looked at 24, 25 sites. We met with the Cleveland or the Lake Metro Parks to see if we could get land from them. We also were in the process of looking at the property that was owned by Little Mountain Homes. It was about 90-some acres just east of the girdled 608 corridor. It was too expensive at that time to buy that property. And so we had the ability to buy the 2 properties for what we believe is a reasonable price.
Does the board have any questions? No? You guys good? Jim, good? Thank you. Is there anything else? Anyone from the design firm or from the school district that would like to come up and say anything more? No? I'll just give the board one more opportunity. Do you have any questions for anybody for or against this appeal before we close the public portion of the meeting? You guys have any other questions you want to ask?
I do not, no.
I don't.
No.
Okay. Okay, if there's no one else, if there's no further questions, the public hearing for conditional use permit number 2017-5 is now closed to the public. I will entertain a motion to approve conditional use permit 2017-5.
So moved.
Second, anyone?
Second.
Thank you. We have approval of conditional use permit 2017-5 in the second. It's open for discussion to the board. Jim, you were itching to say something over there?
No, it's a case of so often the situation that you come into an area and looking and settle on something, and if there's open area, things can change. I mean, it's just, I've seen it, and I've lived in a few parts of the country over the years, and I mean, it's just, I know I feel how these people feel, because you got everything pretty well set up because you kind of came in and at maybe the early end of setting in Summerwood and some of that, but they say it's very difficult, but when there are large pieces of property around the areas, things can change. I mean, I'm not saying right, wrong, or whatever, but I mean, it's some of that stuff, which is not a solution or whatever, but it's and schools are necessary, certainly, and
it's good to have updates and so forth, and it's, most everybody is for that, but again, you get into the, when it ends up kind of impacting an area that has been there and has been open, stuff to look at. I don't know, that's not a question, it's not an observation, I guess, but that's the things that go through our mind.
Fair enough.
So I think about the 812 additional trips per day. So my daughter went to Lamouth, and for 2 years, she's in John R now, but for 2 years we had to drive up Auburn, and everyone's got to play nice and let cars out. And I have some friends that live in Ellison, and they moved into Ellison knowing full well that Lamouth was there beforehand, and they dealt with the traffic knowing that the septic is there, which I'm at the baseball fields constantly. I don't really smell it, I'll be honest with you, but the traffic is always there in the morning, and it's not pleasant to deal with. But I can't discount the fact that now that I've been down Concord Hampton, not my neck of the woods, I'm 2 miles up the road here, but I'm no traffic engineer, and I read through our traffic engineer thing, and it's super confusing to me. I just don't see how you fit 6 pounds of dirt in a 5-pound bag at that time of day, and we're on the front end of this, and these people have an opportunity to at least voice their opinion, and I'm just hearing them.
Yeah, I think the traffic situation has not been addressed yet. I mean, that's the study, but it still hasn't been approved for MoDOT, so we don't.
Right.
I don't think we know yet what's going to happen with the road configuration.
So if we can go back to the 12 applicable standards for the conditional use in 1305, without reading through all 12 of those, it's just my opinion that if not a majority of these applicable standards are in question with this site selection, and I would not be comfortable at this point granting a conditional use based on that. If you want to go through all 12 of them, we can, but
you know, I don't know if Jim and Todd, if you guys have looked those. You know, I tried to go through them before the meeting and tried to go back through them during the meeting to listen to the same thing to see if, you know, how do they address those 12. I know it might, we don't have to read them, you know, through all the way through, but I think you want to, maybe we should discuss some of them or kind of hit them all briefly and just get a feel for how we.
Yeah, I think you can highlight the points the correction made to those applicable standards.
So
and that those all pertain in this case to approval or denial of the conditional use. And they're all valid, in my opinion. They're all valid.
So it will be harmonious with the coordinates with the general provisions, specific objectives of the comprehensive plan and zoning resolution. That's A.
A. Along with B, constructed, operated, and maintained as to be harmonious and appropriate in appearance with the existing or intended character of the general vicinity. Such use will not change the essential character of the same area.
So if we talk about that just as a group here, I mean, you know, think about, does that change the character of the facility from what we heard today? You know, clearing some trees, you know.
Two-story, large industrial facility, yes.
You know, some parking. Again, it's not the final site plan, but, you know, can they, you know, can we also ask that they try to meet B and, you know, as a condition also, something to think about, just throwing that out there. But I would agree that right now that they're not meeting that requirement.
The plan as presented to me does not meet that requirement.
Correct. Will not be hazardous or disturbing to neighboring uses. I mean, I can't say that it's going to be hazardous. I mean, EPA's weighed in. They've had experts weigh in. I don't see anything hazardous that I would consider hazardous at this point. But disturbing to neighbors,
Yes.
I could see, yes, it's disturbing to neighbors.
Right.
Point I, will not result in the destruction, loss, or damage of natural, scenic, or historic features.
Whoa. Look at the eye.
You just can't get past it.
What letter was that one?
Point I.
Oh, you jumped, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm not seeing that.
I'm
Quick
OCD.
study.
So D, served adequately by essential public facilities such as highways, roads, streets, police, fire protection, drainage, water. I mean, the one where they're not being served is the wastewater, which they've addressed on their own. Right now, the road does not serve them adequately, 608 potentially. There is, ODOT might require them to make some improvements, I guess, and that's on them, to make those improvements. But, I'd say maybe that one, is a yes. Will not create excessive additional requirements at public cost for public facilities and services.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Current equipment.
It's
and
currently
everything.
stated, no.
No. F, will not involve uses, activities, process, materials, equipment, conditions of operation that will be hazardous to the general welfare of the community.
I think that could be interpreted positively, negatively. If you're adjacent to the property, you're not going to see it as as not involving a use or activity that's detrimental to the general welfare. So, depending on who you are, where you live,
Yeah,
your vicinity
close
to this site, you can see that either way.
On-site circulation, I think it appears that they've addressed that. We haven't heard any concerns from the fire department at this point. They'd have to meet that requirement. Roadway system, service areas, parking areas, entrances, pedestrian walkways, to have access to public streets in a manner that minimizes traffic hazards or congestion. I mean,
Their initial studies would say no.
and I don't know if they could ever really address that.
Yeah. The traffic study, not being in
preliminary
that
at
business,
this point.
it's like, well, did you come to a conclusion or whatever? It's just,
So then back to section I, will not result in destruction, loss, or damage of natural, scenic, or historic features.
well,
I mean, that's,
maybe not historic, but scenic.
and natural and scenic features will be obliterated.
Yeah. Public, endanger the public health, safety, and welfare. I don't know if it
No.
puts the public in danger. Will not be hazardous or disturbing to the existing and future use and enjoyment of property in the immediate vicinity for the uses permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood. Yeah.
So I think if you looked at the surrounding zoning for that area, the answer there is, yes.
Yeah.
It will disturb future use and enjoyment of the property in the immediate vicinity.
Will not impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding property for the uses permitted in the district. I think,
I can't assess that.
yeah, we don't know. Yeah, sorry. I don't know if number L really, I think we can't really say that that's impacted, but for the, just looking at it, you could probably still develop or build homes around the area if you wanted to. So, I think those are the things we need to think about and decide how we move forward with our approval here. There's quite a few things that are no, some that are yes. We have the opportunity to put conditions on the additional, conditions on the approval. I mean, obviously they have to get approvals from from the township, site plan reviews, EPA approvals, ODOT approvals, all those conditions need to be met for this to go forward.
True.
We as a board, if we wanted to, could put additional conditions or stipulations as well. So that's something.
It's going through already?
No,
So
sir.
they're just discussing that, no.
This is only a discussion for the board. You know, we can put additional stipulations as well if we feel like we need any. Or if we feel like we need additional information for the conditional use permit, I'll throw that out there. You know, we can request that as well.
I think the only thing I'd be interested in for additional information, I'd like to know what the evaluation process for all the other properties was, how this conclusion that this was the most suitable property for the location was reached, and you know, what other options do they have for other locations for this facility?
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of got an overview of what
They looked at
what they went
25, they
through,
sounded like they
and-
went to 4, and they looked
Yeah,
at those 4,
right.
but we didn't really get details.
Right.
Nor are they really prepared to go
Right.
through those details with us this evening.
For fun this morning, while I was supposed to be working, I went on the county assessor site, and about a 2-minute walk from here, Dick Osborne owns 2 lots over here. Combined, they're about 17, 18 acres. They're right next to the interstate. I think you guys know, next to the, there's a landscaper, I think it's behind the church, right over here. On the north side of 608.
We looked at that.
Looked at that?
Yeah, that was the one you could tie into the sewer, the geography was awful.
Okay, we can't direct questions to the public, and they can't really answer to us
Yeah.
at this point. It's close to the public, this is for our discussion. So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe there are.
It brought up that, the question, is this the best we got?
Yeah, I don't know, basically, I see, along with Blair, I mean, you have a tough time going ahead with this, and then trying to put in extra items. I mean, just, if you get enough or not enough, or, I know that there's things out there that have to go through by other groups and approvals and such and sort, but, it's really I think how to define maintaining some separation, at that north end and so forth. I mean, it's a biggie, and may not be viable or whatever.
Yeah, I don't, that's why I throw that out there, Jim. I mean, do we give, if we vote on the approval of the conditional use permit, do we say that, the setback is 50 feet, but do we request that maybe it's 100 feet and the ball field can't be within 50 feet, of
Yeah,
of
we'll
the-
see, but then you get done and then you think, ooh, tomorrow morning over coffee, you think something else.
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just,
And I'm not saying we have to do that, Jim. I just want to remind the board that we have that option to put those supplemental conditions. At this time, if, we're going to vote for the conditional use permit.
So, yeah, even knowing that the site plan currently is fungible, I mean, it can change. And
Yeah, it's going to change from that. We heard they're in schematic design phase and they call this plan conceptual. So they got a long way to go before they have a final.
But
final site plan.
still, the size of the structure, the
That's
fact that
not
it's
gonna
2
change.
stories, the amount of acreage required for the parking lots and the building itself,
29, whatever mounds for the.
those things are not going to change.
No, that's going to be there. They're going to still need parking lots, 127 parking spaces. I bet that number's not going to change. It's just where they end up on the piece of property. Slightly change.
That's all I got.
You guys good? Anything else? You guys want We think we should put this to a vote to the board? You guys are comfortable voting? Think you?
Myself, I am. I'm
Yeah.
prepared. Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Comfortable.
Okay. The question is on the approval of conditional use permit 2017-15, that the conditional use permit will meet all the applicable township, ODOT, county, who else am I missing? You know, EPA, approvals and requirements. A yes vote is for the approval of the conditional use permit. A no vote denies the conditional use permit. Heather, please call a vote. Oh, you good?
You have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
Mr. Rowe?
No.
Mr. Gollin?
No.
Mr. Mr. Hamilton?
No.
Mr. Valente?
No. The conditional use permit has been denied at this time. Okay. Next on our agenda. Sure, yeah, let's, we have one more thing on our agenda. We're gonna recess and let everybody shuffle out. They need to shuffle out, and whoever wants to stay and hang out with us, because we're fantastic, please stay.